Hi, I'm Catherine.
And I'm Gail, and welcome to Women Over 70, Aging Reimagined, our award-winning weekly podcast. Please visit womenover70.com. Consider membership in our Aging Reimagined Circle, our membership sustaining fund, and become a sponsor. Also, we invite you to mark your calendar now to attend our symposium, the first ever full-day in-person symposium that Women Over 70 is putting on October 19th, 2024. Hope to see you then, and please join us in contributing to women's courage, creativity, and curiosity.
And today we're very happy to be talking with Mary Mitchell. Journalism was Mary's second career. At age 41, she was the oldest intern the Chicago Sun-Times had ever hired, and then joined full-time upon completing her bachelor's degree. Mary's been with the Sun-Times in various capacities for over 30 years. As a noted columnist, Mary covered education matters, became an authority on race relations in Chicago, and was well regarded as someone who gave a voice to the voiceless. Mary retired in 2018 and then returned a year later to write occasional columns and consult to the editorial board. Now at age 74, Mary has initiated a new crusade through her weekly column called Starting Over, in which she celebrates longevity as a blessing and urges readers to view aging in a new light. She's received numerous journalism awards. I'll just name a couple. The Award of Excellence from the National Association of Black Journalists and the Studs Terkel Award from the Chicago Media Workshop. She's a former president of the Chicago Association of Black Journalists, and the list goes on. So welcome, Mary, to Women Over 70. We're thankful to our former podcast guest, Jill Stewart, for referring us to you, and we're delighted to be talking with you today.
Yes, we are.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Very pleasure. So, Mary, could you provide some backstory about your long-time work at the Chicago Sun-Times, and especially your focus on race relations and other major social issues?
Well, when I came to the Chicago Sun-Times in 1991, I was leading a career as a legal secretary in Chicago, working for major law firms. And that experience taught me a lot about what was going on and what needed to be done when it came to race relations in Chicago. I left a job where I felt that I had not been treated fairly. And so when I got into the newsroom and realized that you can really pursue these issues, shed light on problems and racial conflicts within the city, that was a job, I wanted that job. And I worked very hard at securing it. We had a series that came out called The Great Divide. I was still pretty much green, but I worked with a guy named Don Hayner, former editor at the Chicago Sun-Times. In fact, he became one of the main editors at the paper. I worked with him on a series that looked at racial attitudes in Chicago. And we told stories about how it was, how we grew up. I grew up in public housing. He grew up on the far South Side. He was, definitely a person who had experienced racial tensions during the 70s. And we just talked. We talked about everything. We talked about schools and neighborhoods and politics, and told our stories about what it was like to be a Black kid growing up in Chicago, and what was it like for a white kid. And that's how I got started writing issues about social justice. And it's when I discovered my voice. When I came to the newsroom, it was almost considered pigeonholing for a Black person to want to cover the Black community. But I felt it was an honor to be able to cover the Black community. And I learned a lot, not just from covering the community, but actually living in the community and being able to tell stories about our community.
Do you consider yourself a community journalist, a news person?
I consider myself an advocate, for people who do not have a voice. They don't have a seat at the table. They're not in the room, so to speak. Those people those are people that I target. That's my audience. I grew up in a large family, 10 kids. I was the oldest along with my late twin sister. We were the oldest. And so fairness was everything. Everything had to be fair, boy. Couldn't have one person getting more Kool-Aid than another person. Everything had to be equity. Everything had to be right on the line. And that kind of ruined me. That's how I felt about what life should be like. We just need to have equity. We need to be fair. Whatever else we do, if we're fair, then we're doing the best that we can.
Sure. Where were you in the lineup of the 10 kids?
I was the oldest.
You were the oldest.
I was the oldest, yeah. So my job was basically to help my parents take care of them. But having a large family like that made you realize how important it was to try to be fair. Mm-hmm. Because nobody wants to feel like someone is getting a better deal than they are, even as kids, I mean, if we had ice cream, we had to divide it all up between 10 people and nobody got the biggest portion. We all got the same. And so that's how I felt when I came into the newsroom, when I came upon issues where I saw that there was inequities. I had to write about it. I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't go on and write the fancy columns or the puffy columns or, any of that. I didn't like that. I liked writing about, here's the mirror. This is what you see when you look in the mirror. And I held that mirror up in Chicago for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And in 1991, were there other African American people in the newsroom?
Yes.
Women?
Yes. Well, believe it, this is really crazy because in 1991, there were probably more diversity in the newsroom than we have today. Really? Yes, there were, Marlon Hedgerika worked there, Lillian Williams worked there. There was just a lot of, it was diverse. Right now, unfortunately, it's not as much diversity as it was back in 1991.
Why is that, do you think?
Well, I think a lot of people got out of the business. Broadcast is very, very enticing. They pay more money and they work fewer hours than a regular reporter would do. And I think that it was an equity issue. People got tired of not feeling like they were being treated fairly. That they weren't getting the good beats. They weren't getting the opportunities. They weren't getting the stories that would lead to prizes and awards and things like that. And they moved on. And also Chicago was a feeder for the bigger newspapers. It was LA Times, New York Times, Washington Post. The best of us got picked up and plucked up and, moved to DC to cover politics and moved to LA to cover, the coast. So we lost a lot of talent and that talent was not replaced over time. So now they're starting with diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's the same story as it was in 1991. We do not have enough people of color in the newsrooms to tell the stories of communities of color.
Mm-hmm. And I think, Mary, I recall when we had our pre-interview chat that you are very active in mentoring younger, newer African-American journalists.
Yeah, I've always tried to be a mentor. I've not ever passed up an opportunity to mentor someone who really wants to get into the business. And I'm quite honest with them. And this is a very competitive field. And if you really want to be in this field, you got to realize that it's a full-time thing. It's not something that you could do as a hobby. It is a really stressful at times job. And so I tell them just the way someone told me, and that is, if you want to do this job, you have to give it your all. And so I haven't had time to mentor. I have not mentored as much as I would like to in recent years. And that's only because I've been so busy trying to do these other things, tie up a career, start something new, that sort of thing.
So tell us about starting something new.
starting something new. So in 2018, I knew in 2017 that I really wanted to retire. And that really goes back to mentoring, because I felt that there were other people that needed to step up. You know, it's like, how can someone else follow in your footsteps if you don't ever go anywhere? If you don't walk away, if your car is still in the driveway, how can they get in the driveway? So knowing that, I knowingly left the job, feeling that someone else is going to come in and fill those shoes, and there'll be another voice. A fresh voice. I don't want to say it's a young voice, but a fresh voice, maybe a voice with a different perspective. I don't even speak the language that these young people speak these days. It's very hard to communicate with them if you don't know the language, if you don't know the tools that they use, like the internet and the TikTok and all of those things, Instagram. That was not for me. And so I stepped away to leave room for someone else to come in and take on that job.
And so then I know you returned to write occasional column, consult with the editorial board. But what we really want to hear about is starting over.
Yes. Why starting over? Okay. Well, we thought about it and kicked it around. I thought about it really and kicked it around for a while to come up with a title for my occasional column. Because what I didn't want to do is write more social justice issue columns. I mean, that would be the main thing that I wrote about. And again, that would be taking up space for somebody else who could be writing about it with some fresh ideas. So starting over was when I was thinking one night about life itself. And when you're born, you come bald, you come wrinkled, you come needing help to do all the little things. And when you're old, the same thing happens. You go back, you become bald, you become wrinkled, you become, all of these things, and needing help from people. We start over. So aging is really starting over. Aging gives you an opportunity to do things that you always wanted to do, but never had the time to do. It gives you opportunity to look at the world in a different way. I just embrace that starting over thing just for my own career. And now I'm starting over at 74 years old. I'm doing something different. And we all can do that when we age. We can start over and do something else that we never thought we would be able to do, and find out that, wow, you could do this and you could enjoy doing this and you could be successful at it, So that's how the name Starting Over came to be.
I like that. So when I was looking at some of the topics that you cover, there's a wide range of topics, and everything from your deciding what to do with your designer, the gown or dress, to etiquette laws and health, and just a wide range. So how do you decide or choose your topics?
Well, sometimes it's just life. I mean, like going to a ball or some sort of gala, and you got all these gowns in your closet. What are you going to do with them? And then you begin to think about, as you age, you begin to think about not your legacy so much, it's the things that you have. Who do you want to have them? Who do you want to lead them to? Older lady once brought me, I live in a co-op, and she invited me to her apartment, and she wanted to show me some of her things. And they were nice things, nice glasses, just very nice things. And she told me that she wanted me to pick out anything that I wanted, because she wanted to give her things to someone that she knew and that she admired, rather than that it's going to any old body. And I thought about that. That's a cool way of getting rid of stuff. So I wrote a column about it, that we need to be thinking about where our things are going to go. And do we really want to leave a whole stack of stuff that it will take 6 months for somebody to clean up after we're gone? So sometimes it's just life. It's the news. Older people don't stop reading the news. They have ideas. They have wisdom. You talk to them, and then you incorporate some of their wisdom into your writing. So they tell their stories, and I wanted my columns, Starting Over column, to be a place where seniors can tell their own stories and share their wisdom. Because when we think about it, there's so many of us, and we all have stories, and we all have things that have happened and learned valuable lessons in life. We can't just leave that unsaid. We need to leave that so people can, we need to share that so people can know, hey, this is how you avoid this pitfall. And this is how you get over this heartbreak. Or this is how you, can be forgiving. All of these things are important. And to be able to share it with a younger audience, to be able to leave that wisdom behind is really all you're going to take with you. That's all you're going to, really, when you think about it, is that we've shared our lives and poured out our lives to other people.
How frequently are you writing this column, Mary?
Once a week, and sometimes it's very hard to come up with a storyline. But I'm learning myself as I'm writing, and then I'm talking to seniors, and I'm talking to experts on aging, and they talk about certain things. I'm learning myself. And so as I learn and as I grow, I hope the column grows. Yeah. And anytime that there's, I get mail from people and emails, and they have suggestions for columns, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. I use that. And also, when seniors have trouble cutting through the red tape, they got a problem, they got a concern that, whether it's about Medicare or it's about, prescription drugs or anything, they write, and we can have a conversation, and I can try to figure out an answer for them. That's also part of my mission for the column.
Well, what kind of feedback? I'm sorry, Gail, go ahead.
I was just going to say that you have to write about women over 70.
Oh, yes, that's another. Yeah, I had never heard of women over 70. This was a eye-opening thing for me. So yes, I do have to write about it.
You just explained beautifully the mission of women over 70.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah, sharing the stories.
Yeah, sharing stories. And also, I didn't know much about the issue of ageism. I never even thought about it. Mm-hmm. But when I started digging into it, I realized that, most of us are guilty of it. We think that older people aren't capable of doing X, Y, Z. And there are a lot of older people that can run circles around younger people. I tease my trainer teases me all the time because I do what's called a plank. So I can do a plank. I can hold a plank and start it off, I can hold it for like 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. And now after 2 years of working with her, I can hold it for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And that's really an accomplishment.
Right, I'm only up to 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know. But when you challenge yourself to do things like that, you realize there are seniors that are doing that and more. There are seniors running marathons. There are seniors who are gorgeous with like your hair, Catherine, have gorgeous head of hair. Not everybody goes through the same thing. So we are still unique, and we're still individuals, and we should be treated that way and not as a group.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Do you get feedback from younger people about your column?
Younger people, I haven't heard from them at all. So I assume they look at it and they don't read it, and that's okay with me because they have other places they want to go for their information. That's okay. But I do hear from seniors, and I do hear from people who are taking care of seniors. So, and that's really my target audience. Mm-hmm. God bless the young people. If they read it, one day they'll find something in it that might help them on their journey. But that is not the audience that I'm going for. I'm going for the audience of women over 70, as you say.
Excellent.
So in all your writing, you are attempting to show aging in a new light. Is that what you're doing?
True. Well, I'm attempting to give seniors and the issue of aging a platform. Mm-hmm. They have a place that they can go and a place that they can talk and share information. I want to put a different light on aging. Aging is not no, that's not what aging really is. Aging is a blessing. It's not something that you ridicule. It's not something you honor people who are aging. I mean, I used to love to see families going out and they have everyone, including the grandma and the great grandma, going out to dinner. You know, they're not alone. You don't have to be alone. You got a social life, you know. And I've met seniors that were so fashionable. I was in awe of their fashion taste and their style. They don't have to wear the house coat or the house dress anymore. Those days are over. And that's the kind of light I want to shine on the aging community.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I hope you come to our symposium in October.
Yes. So make sure you send me an email, some information on that, and I will definitely get the word out, because I think it's so important for us to have our place that we can go and enjoy and learn how to enjoy these years that we've been gifted with it. Yeah. That we can share our wisdom to another generation.
Yeah, blessings, gifts. So when you're not outside of writing your columns, what's your life like? What are you engaged in?
Oh, well, you know, it takes a lot to write a column, believe it or not. I mean, it's only 700 words, but you got to research and you got to, you know, it's a lot of work that goes into it. So even though I step back and said I'm working only part-time, I find myself sometimes working too much. When I'm not working, I love to garden. So this is my season coming up, you know, that I can plan what am I going to put out there. And I work with a gardening committee in my building, and they have taught me so much, and I get so much joy out of just working the land. I'm very, very involved in my church. My spirituality is very important to me. So I'm able to do more. Now that I'm working part-time, I'm able to do more with my church, and I'm enjoying that immensely.
Did you say you live in a co-op?
A cooperative, a co-op. My building is I didn't know anything about it until I decided, I love this apartment, but it's not really my apartment. It's a cooperative. So, and I live on the south side of Chicago. I live right off the lakefront. And the only place that I would ever live in Chicago is by the lake. Not now at this age, you know, just getting up every day and seeing the water is such a blessing and such a wonderful experience. It just gets you ready for your day.
I feel the same way.
Yes,
I do. Water is very important to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
And what do you mind if I ask you what church you're involved in?
Bryn Mawr Community Church. It's at 70th and Jeffrey, and it is a church that has been around for 106 years. It's a community church, and that's what I want to do. You know, after writing about social issues for 30 years, I realized that it was really needed. It's not so much as words, but people are rolling up their sleeves and doing the work. Mm-hmm. And as a senior citizen now, I have time to roll up my sleeves and do the work. So I try to find things and projects within my church that I can participate in, because I think that's what we should be. Not everybody wants to be, do this work, but for me personally, I just felt like it was time for me to actually do the work as opposed to talk about the work.
And what kind of work have you been doing with the church?
Oh, well, we work on we have a food pantry. We work on a clothing pantry. We work on even having our church open for community events. And basically, I'm a trustee of the church, so I help them with their planning and trying to keep the church the center of community. That's what we're trying to do. And so I'm involved in those kind of activities.
That's important.
Gail, do you want to ask our question?
Well, I was just saying that's important work that you're doing, Mary, very important. And yeah, what did you want to say something more about that?
Well, it's important that we just don't wait for someone else to find a solution to the problems. And we all know what the problems are. Mm-hmm. If you're visible, if you have the time and you're able to be visible, just seeing you out there, like I used to go out by my church and I used to pick up garbage but just seeing someone do these things in your community would may inspire you to also do it, someone else to do it. And I just also think that these days we need to come together as a community and try to work on the problems that we know that we have. So, yeah, so I think it's very important.
You're right. Very beautiful. Yes. You're a real role model.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I know I tried very hard. I have tried very hard in my career to help people. And so if I'm remembered for anything, I will be remembered for those people who I have helped, tried to be an advocate for. And I think that's for a lot of us, for seniors, a lot of us need that advocacy. You know, a lot of us don't have a good friend or a partner, a surviving partner, or children that live near to them. They need the advocacy of people, younger people, to help them get through some of the things like internet. You know, I love to see younger people working with older people to help them deal with the internet. Right. Things like grandmothers being grandmothers. They're old enough to be grandmothers, but grandmothers who can be grandmothers to children who don't have grandmothers. Because grandmothers are important. You know, I don't think people realize how much grandmothers do for families. You know, once they're not working, they can go to the games. When the mom can't go to the game, or the dad can't go to the game, they can help them with the homework. They can just be with them and impart some of that knowledge that they have to these children who do not have grandparents. Those things that are important to me. You see, I'm very passionate about that.
Wonderful. Being a grandparent myself, yes, I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised at how many kids don't have a grandparent, don't have a parent, and don't have a grandparent. They may be living with a relative. A lot of them are foster care, and they grew up without that nurturing and that love and that care that we provide. And so seeing those families, those extended families now, and trying to pull that back together is what I call the village, is something that we should be working on. That should be a gift that we leave behind.
Yes.
I think you've talked about this already, Mary, but we like to ask our guests, how do you think about your own aging process, if you think about it much?
I do think about it. I look in the mirror. I used to have a woman with long dreads, and I lost them. I am a breast cancer survivor, so that is always on top of mind. That, am I okay? And you lose people. Losing my twin sister was a big blow. But these are the things that we go through in life. This is part of living. And so I try to remind myself that I'm still me. I'm just a different me, but I'm still me. Inside of me is still that kid that enjoys a book so much that she would crawl up in the bed at night with a flashlight and read under the covers. I'm still that person. And as we get older and as I age, I just want to share that journey with other people.
And we're so glad you are doing that. Thank you.
Listeners, because of your loyalty, our numbers continue to grow. Still, we need your support. Visit womenover70.com, join Aging Reimagined Circle, or make a donation. Let your voice be heard and help change the conversation about women aging.